Welcome to OJ Health Radio. I am your host, Ollie Matthews, an expert when it comes to health optimization for busy individuals all over the world. We dive into the depths of health to allow you to reach your peak performance using functional medicine, nutrition therapy, training methods, and lifestyle routine optimizations to get you to peak performance once and for all, and become that true, revitalized version of yourself. Because your body is your business. And without a sustainable body, you have not got a sustainable or scalable business. So get strapped in and get ready to take your body, your mindset, relationships, and business to the next level.
Okay, so folks, we are joined today by Ollie Jordan Matthews. Ollie is a stress management expert. Is that how you describe yourself, Ollie?
Yeah, depending on who I'm speaking to, stress expert, sleep expert, gut expert, but it's all under stress.
Yeah. So I thought it would be great if Ollie came into the group, because I know a lot of you that within my group are busy professionals, busy with your family life, busy trying to look after your health and your well-being. And I'm of the belief that Ollie will be able to give everyone within my group some top tips, some pointers and advice to take away from this afternoon's live. If you are watching live, guys, if you could please comment #live. And if you have any questions as we are going along, please feel free to just pop them underneath the comments. And I will try my best to get Ollie to answer them for you. So, Ollie, could you please just start off with tell everybody a little bit about what it is you do and how long you've been doing it?
So I've been in the fitness industry since 2006. This is where you then start feeling really old. We know now that we weren't born in 2006 when we got in and stuff like that. I've been in the fitness industry since 2006, really overweight guy. Lost weight, got on the bodybuilding stage. But it was actually before then that my journey started. And my parents basically split up when I was like 5-6 years old. My dad went away to work in the sales industry, in caravan sites and managing caravan parks, switching them around. Really high pressure job with targets, and used to always suffer from migraines. And his thing was providing for his family financially. But it was that we didn't see him as much as we wanted to. And then unfortunately, when he was 47, he got taken into hospital with a migraine, had a stroke and passed away.
Oh,
Literally
wow.
This healthy guy on the Monday, which seemingly healthy on the outside, not overweight, didn't drink loads, but enjoyed life. Monday, he texted me, and the last message I got from him was, "Did you get the money?" Into hospital with a migraine on the Tuesday morning. Wednesday, they said he was going to be fine. Thursday, he had a stroke. Saturday, we had to turn off his life support machine. And it then sent me on this loop of I was 15 years old, pushed into emotional eating and all this sort of stuff. Got into the music industry, DJing, producing, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And I was just so overweight, so unconfident. Then I found the gym. As I said, dropped about 100 pounds, competed in bodybuilding. But as we both know, it's not the healthiest way of, at the time when we're doing it, we would say we're healthy, right? But never say never to doing it again. At the moment, I'm saying never, but they say never. But it gave me an eating disorder with exercise bulimia. I was binge eating. I was purging. I was then going to do loads of exercise to try and stop the damage from the binges and everything. And essentially my confidence wasn't there. And I thought that getting muscles would give me this confidence, but I had to do the work up here in my head. So it sent me on this kind of spiritual journey of, who do I want to work with? Started working with professional endurance athletes. Had someone in the Tour de France where we were doing nutrition, and someone in the Rio Olympics, the Ultraman world champion, loads of high-level endurance athletes. But their goal was to get from A to B as quickly as possible. Never really with a focus on health. No, they don't want to get injured. They want to be there for the next race, but winning pays their bills. So we were focused on that. And then I started working with a couple of entrepreneurs. And there's two that really, really jump out. One guy called Ron, who I was actually at his mastermind in Colombia. I was speaking there 2 weeks ago, and he's been my client since 2015. And he's a guy who has multiple businesses, your typical entrepreneur, where busy, we've pushed health to the side. He was a lawyer beforehand, so he knows the professional world really well and loads of signs of burnout. Worked with him and realized that this is who I want to work with. But then there was another guy called Rick Barker, and he messages me in October 2017, I think it was, something like that. And he said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I know what to do. I need you to tell me to do it. Great. Okay. And then I look at his website and it's Taylor Swift's first manager. And I think, why is Taylor Swift's manager messaging me? And 3 months later, like, he'd signed up like after an hour, and 3 months later, I'm in his office in Nashville, and we're doing a course for musicians' health. And actually not in his office, in his kitchen. And his wife is there, his 15-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son. And he said, Ollie, you've given me my wife back what she married 10 years ago. And it was at that moment I realized how powerful what I was doing was. I couldn't help my dad. There wasn't someone like me around to help him. But I can stop other children from losing their parents. I can stop professionals. I can stop entrepreneurs. I can just stop stressed out people from dying before their time if we work on the foundations of our health. So that then sent me into the world of functional medicine, a world of being a registered nutrition therapist, the world of like not just PT, but the whole lifestyle, life coaching, life management all around it. And now it's, again, a very good reputation around the world, in America specifically, with working with these people that have pushed their health to the side. There's so many signs of burning out that they know they need to do something about it, because if they don't, it's not necessarily that they're not going to be there for their business, it's that they're not going to be on this planet for very much longer.
Sure. And I didn't know most of that story, Ollie, so that was amazing to hear, like, your journey and how you are doing what you're doing now. So for people that are watching that, I guess, are very busy in their day-to-day life and perhaps undergoing some current stress within their life, what would you say are some of the things that you look for? So how would you notice if someone was on the brink of burning out?
Well, in the talk that I've done, there's a video that I've done on TikTok, and it's got like 10,000 views in the last couple of weeks, which is kind of cool to like see like your followers grow and grow. I had like 80 followers. I just started TikTok before I went to Colombia, and now there's like 700. But there is 11 signs that your body is burning out. And I'd done this talk, and I sat down afterwards, and there were 20 people there, and there was about 8 or 9 people said that I'm burning out. And that was directly afterwards. And then after that, there was about 5 or 6 people over the next day or two said that we need to speak further. So it was like 75% of the people that had been there that said they're close to burning out. And the biggest one I see with people pushed to the side, because it's very common, and we have to realize that just because something is common doesn't make it normal. Our bodies should be able to sleep. So people that are waking up through the night, no doubt, like if you're anything like me, like you've done shows before, when you get close to a bodybuilding show, that you're waking up through the night multiple times. I
had very little sleep when I was competing. Yeah, exactly. The people that can get through a prep without suffering from that, I'm always like, wow, how? How are you sleeping? Yeah.
Right. And it's down to stress on the body, and it's down to the way we manage our blood glucose levels. But I'll go through the list, and if we want to dive into more of them, but like people that aren't sleeping through the night, or people that wake early. We see so many people like hashtag 5 a.m. club. That's not a healthy thing for the body in a long period of time. The way our circadian rhythm works, we shouldn't be waking up at 5 a.m. A little bit easier to get away with it in the summer, but definitely not in the winter, the way our natural body clock works. Because then we get energy dips throughout the day. Sometimes we forget random things. If one of these people, there are 7 signs of dementia, and so many people I see are already in stage 2 without even thinking of it. So literally, when people go into a room and why did I come in here? Go upstairs and think, what have I done? Why am I up here? Yeah, like so many people do it that we forget where we put our keys, or we leave our phone somewhere and we actually realize it's in our hand or something.
You said that's early signs of dementia.
It's one of the memory is one of the signs that when we look at dementia. Now, I would say that of the Western society, there's a high percentage that are in stage 2. Now, yes, like we nudge over to stage 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I can tell you exact ones of each what they are. I can find it afterwards and send it to you, but it takes a lot to get into that. And the key is making sure we don't continue moving over, because there comes a point where you get into like 4 or 5 that we can't go back.
Yeah, okay.
So it's managing this, and you can massively improve things like memory loss and things like names. I used to be really bad with people's names, but I got introduced to like 12 people in the first day when I was in Medellin. And I got there at 6 a.m. in the morning, couldn't check into my room till 3 o'clock, and we're going on this tour of Medellin. And I remembered everyone's name because it was actually taking this time. When we're introduced to someone in a group of multiple people, we started like, hey, this is Lucy. I'm Ollie. Nice to meet you. Like, we just forget names, but it's actually taking that time to remember them and then going back over it. We can memorize these things. So sometimes it's a concentration thing rather than a memory thing. I think we have to realize. Yeah. Other ones which you've no doubt seen with coaching as well is people not able to drop weight when they're trying. Mm-hmm. They get really stuck. We get frustrated. The body doesn't seem to play ball. We try and get them to eat less, like there's a calorie deficit and everything, calories in versus calories out, but they just can't stick to a diet, or they just get more and more frustrated. And so loads of cravings and hunger, like basically they just got poor blood glucose management, regularly getting colds and feeling run down, things like brain fog, migraines, headaches, getting bloated with poor blood, gut health. But one which is very, very common is getting cold hands and feet. And that's a very big sign of like, well, a key thing, right? We say about it, but again, so many times they're common because if we think about where our brain is situated in our body, compared to our hands and feet, they're at the extremes of our body. Now, one of the reasons we get cold hands and feet is because we've got poor blood flow. So we're getting blood to these parts of our body. Now, our hands and feet have gravity working with them. Our brain doesn't. So if we're getting poor blood flow to our hands and feet, you then get things like poor nail health and things like that. But then we also get poor oxygen delivery and poor nutrient delivery to our brain. So again, exercise can help with that, looking at inflammation within the diet and looking at kind of just some structure within what we're doing nutritionally. There are some supplements that can help with antioxidants, getting toxins out of the system and helping with detoxification and things. But yeah, they're big signs, I would say.
And do you think they all those things you mentioned all tie in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is what people get very overwhelmed with. I've got these 11 symptoms. I have to attack them 11 different ways. And I do a genetic questionnaire with people, and we can get the raw data if anyone's done a 23andMe test. And we have these genetic SNPs, these single nuclear polymorphisms, and they get kind of dirty over time. So if you've ever heard of a thing called epigenetics, we can't change our genetics, but we change the way it signals basically. And it varies a lot based on stress, our environment and things. Now, how do we clean these up? If you've got like 10 different ones, we don't clean them up individually. Most of the ways we do it is lowering stress on the body, and it helps all of them. Yes, there are certain things we can do to help one more than other, but especially things like sleep. If we manage blood glucose, we should improve our sleep. We should improve our brain fog. We should improve being able to drop weight. We should improve the memory side of things. There's so many things which will help with these. So this is where, when I work with someone, we see what's going on. And then the goal is to get them from A to Z, but get them to B first and just keep nudging them in the right way. Because so many people that, especially that you and I work with professionals, with entrepreneurs, they're busy already, right? Mm-hmm. They don't need to be doing all these different things. Like some people will want to have a strict meal plan. Is that a good thing for me? In my mind, I don't believe so. Like if someone wants a meal plan, they have to have a deal with me that if their wife or their husband says we want to go out, that they're going to be able to be flexible and follow guidelines. Like some people want to have this like strict structure, but if someone's literally just got to add some fatty acids into their diet, great, let's work on that. That's the win. Then we look at how is their morning routine? How is their evening routine? Is there a switch off time? Just small things that can nudge them in the right direction. And I truly feel that's the way we get success. And the quicker we try and do something, the less stability we have in doing it, the less sustainable it is, right? The bodybuilding diets, they're not sustainable. No. But if we slowly got leaner over time, maybe we wouldn't get as lean as we did for stage, but it's easier to maintain if you get lean over time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I've definitely got a few people within the group that do struggle with their sleep. And then it has a knock-on effect on everything, as we know, like in terms of how hungry they're getting in the day, their mood in the day. Where would you sort of say to someone that's really struggling, like waking up several times in the night, where would you get them to start?
So I would look at those last, like the meal and maybe a snack before bed. First thing I would look at is, well, we would test blood glucose. If someone was a client of mine, we would test blood glucose most of the times anyway. But looking at the last meal of the day, if we changed it to a lower carb, more protein, fats, veggie-based side of things, more fibrous veggies, and then before bed, we had a small protein snack. So it could be a slice of ham, a couple of slices of ham, a small spoonful, like when we say small spoonful, not like a big tablespoonful of peanut butter. There's that meme, isn't there, where someone said like 20 grams of peanut butter, like this little bit or like this massive bit, but like a small spoonful of peanut butter. And then what you do is you just see if your sleep times move. So if you're normally waking up at 1 or 2 a.m., do they move to 3 or 4 a.m.? Then we know that we need to work on blood glucose. And that's where things like managing carbohydrate intake throughout the day is going to be crucial. And I'm not an advocate to say like keto or like any particular diet, but sometimes we do need to go lower carb to then bring them back in. And the goal of something like, sometimes like we talk about the sustainable diet, but actually in the real world, sometimes we have to do very unsustainable things to become sustainable. And this is one thing we have to be real with people when we work with them, is that sometimes we have to be uncomfortable. Like growing muscle, you have to put the muscle through a little bit of trauma to then get it to grow, to stimulate that. So what a lot of people aren't as upfront with is that if we've been in a lot of stress, we've been through trauma for a long, long while, and our bodies sees that as the normal state. So a thing we call homeostasis, it sees that as the norm. We want to change that. It's going to take some effort to do it. So say like you feel bad, sometimes you might have to feel worse before you then feel good. And I think people need to be aware of that, is then making that decision of like, yes, I could feel bad for the next 20, 30 years of my life, or I could feel really bad for a couple of months, and then I feel awesome for the next 20, 30 years. And I think there's a decision of loving yourself with that. So I try and do it in the most sustainable way as possible. Like we slowly adjust when carbohydrates are in there. We might add supplements in, things like berberine and stuff to help with blood glucose management, but not relying on it. Looking at placement of melatonin. But again, I don't want to use these things. So in the extreme areas where we would look at that. But I think like I've got I think I call this the sleep solution, where I've got like 2 full health screening and sleep solution, which if people sign up to my coaching, they get that included, but they're 2 standalone products. But with the sleep solution, we look at 3 areas of looking at your daily routine. We look at your mindset. We look at your activity levels, or your health levels, sorry. And most of the time people aren't getting sun exposure in the morning. Most of the time people are waking with caffeine, which I'm not against caffeine. I have it now. My sleep is good. But if I go through a period where my sleep is bad, the first thing I adjust is take the caffeine out first thing and wait a couple of hours before I have it, and making sure I'm not relying on it.
Interesting.
Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours.
I know Richard, who's watching, likes his coffee, don't you, Richard?
Yeah, this is the thing. I bought a massive bag of coffee back from Colombia. I was like, right, which is the nicest coffee? I'm going to have some. And I had a cup of it like a couple of hours ago. But it's where we have it strategically. If we're using caffeine for energy all the time, or we use caffeine, and if we don't use it, like when people like joke about coffee makes me poop. Yeah, well, we shouldn't need to have that to go to the toilet. We shouldn't need that to wake us up. And it's the same as alcohol to de-stress. We shouldn't need to have alcohol to de-stress. And when I speak to people, it's, don't take my coffee, he said. When we speak to people, it's using alcohol. If they say I can't cut alcohol out, is it that you can't cut alcohol out, or you won't? Because they're 2 different things. Won't is good because it's a choice. Can't means there's an addiction to it. So with caffeine, it's if we're relying on it to wake up, can we leave it a couple of hours? Because what happens is there's these things called this adenosine that we have, which signals the awakeness basically within the body. And we have these receptors, which is what caffeine binds to. So it breaks that signaling. Or the adenosine basically tells us that we're tired. So it breaks that signaling, so we instantly wake up. But it doesn't get rid of the adenosine, which is what we have to do when we naturally wake up. If we just break that connection, we're awake. But as soon as the coffee wears off, the caffeine wears off, that adenosine is still there. So we feel tired and need more coffee. So if we can just get the body to work better through good nutrition, through movement, without excessively stressing the body, through good routine, we can have caffeine and not have it be detrimental to our health.
You mentioned about getting some sunlight or daylight when you wake up. Do you think that's important?
Very much. Our body clock is like our ancestors didn't have fake lights and everything like that, blue light exposure, which is false light essentially, exposure to that, especially in the wintertime, really impacts our body. Now, if you can't get outside within the first 30 minutes, ideally within the first 20 minutes, having things like a light box or a SAD lamp, which is just a really bright, like 10,000 lux lamp, they're not expensive. I've got one in my office somewhere for the winter time, and I've got one downstairs for on the duller days. And I do a 15-minute meditation right next to that when I wake up. And it makes so much difference. But in an ideal world, like, I'll be out within the first 15, 20 minutes to walk dogs, because it's like a charge. Now, I'm very much an energy person. I've got my crystals and stuff behind me, but I realize some people think a lot of the woo-woo stuff doesn't work that much. But things like your circadian rhythm, your natural body clock, is very much linked to when the sun rises and the sun falls. Hence why with the 5 a.m. side of things, it's very, very hard to link this up. And also it likes consistency. So if you get up at 6 a.m. during the day, during the week, getting up at 6 a.m. close to 6 a.m. at the weekends is going to be very, very powerful too. So a lot of people, I've done a video on TikTok about Monday morning feeling. It's basically with jet lag in the body.
Richard loves that as well, don't you, Richard? Monday mornings.
With that, essentially, like, we're going to sleep at like 10 p.m. on a Monday, and then we wake up at like 6 a.m., for example. We have this 9 to 5 routine, or 8 to 6, whatever it is nowadays. And then we try and get to sleep at the same time. Wednesday, we feel great because our body is slightly adjusted. Friday comes along. We don't have to get up the next day. So we might have takeaway or something, or foods we wouldn't normally have, some alcohol to celebrate the week. And we go to sleep at midnight, for example. Saturday, we then get up at, say, 8 a.m. We may have a different breakfast and different food throughout the day. We're not having similar lunch times and meal times. Then in the evening on Saturday, we end up, again, we might have more alcohol. We might go to sleep a bit later once again. And then on the Sunday morning, we try and get up, and like we're then up at 8, 9 a.m., but then we're trying to go to sleep at 10 p.m. And we've all been at different places with jet lag. In fact, the jet lag coming back from Colombia was worse than I thought. It was the first time my body's been in a different time zone since pre-pandemic. So it took like 4 or 5 days to get used to it, rather than like the 2 days is normal. But sticking to those routines as much as possible. I thought mine had actually been a bit different than, and I was thinking, practice what you preach and all this sort of stuff. But I've got this Aura ring, which tracks all my sleep and stress levels. And it came up with a quarterly score. And apparently there was 4 minutes difference between my sleep and wake times in the week to the weekend in the last quarter. So I thought, that's kind of cool.
Good, yeah.
But there will be some times when you're going to wake up a little bit later. It's just, we've all heard of the 80-20 rule. It's like, do what you can 80% of the time, and then 20% takes care of itself.
Yeah, it does completely throw me out. I've got to say, I have been having a few later nights on a weekend recently, and I've really suffered the next few days after. What about people that are shift workers or night workers? How do you think that can affect them?
And night working is very, very hard. Like, if someone's health is that bad, I know, like, it's not nice to say, is that sometimes we need to just change our job. Just like if someone lives in a place that's got mold and they react to mold a lot, sometimes we need to move house. Which sounds like a horrible thing to say. Like, if you really want to improve your health, we need to work with our actual body clock. But how do we actually do as much as we can? Well, we look at trying to keep some consistency with meal times. So if we think about breakfast being an hour or two after we wake up, on those days where we have to wake up later, have your first meal an hour or two after we wake up. Because some of our natural body clock, yes, it links with the sun. So we can use blue light blocking glasses. So when we're trying to sleep in the last couple of hours of our shift, or after the last couple of hours of our shift, putting blue light blocking glasses on. But if we treat that day as like the strategic meal time, say we lunch at, say, 1 p.m., and that's 7 hours or 8 hours after we wake up, like 7 hours if we wake up at 6. On the days we work nights, we have that lunch 7 hours after we wake up. Just try and have some form of a consistency. It's very hard to do. And this is where, like, just being on top of these stress management things really, really helps. But it is where I would have a conversation with someone like, what's the best we can do? Same if you've got kids, like, don't beat yourself up. If your child's waking you up every night, like, do the best you can. And the key thing I say is that if the child didn't wake you up, would you still sleep through the night? And if the answer is no, then we know we can do more. I think that's looking at it and being realistic with yourself. We can use these things as excuses, but is there something we could do to improve it a little bit? And then you accept that if I really want to get to like 100% optimized health, I'll say 99%, because I always feel there's a way we can improve, then am I prepared to change my job? Now, that job, there's someone I know that works on the train lines at the gym. It pays him a decent wage. He's got his wife, he's got his kid, he's got another kid on the way. It's not viable for him to change his job. So in an ideal world, yes, shift working wouldn't be something he does. But luckily, he does like 4 or 5 days on, 4 or 5 days off. So he can get into some sort of form of a routine. Ironically, one of the most stressed out places that I see people and have spoke to people are people like doctors working in the hospitals, because there's so much false light. There's not really a night and day side of things. The shift working is all over the show. They're already stressed out. They're working very, very long hours. And it's the jobs that we help other people, then we can't help our own health as much. So
yeah, for sure.
It's just a discussion that we have to be realist with ourselves. We can improve our health, absolutely. But if we try and compare ourselves to someone that has got the exact routine that they want, and they can wake up at the exact time, they can work out at the exact time, they can have their meals at the exact time, they can sleep at the exact time, all these different things, then we're going to end up getting frustrated.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. And going back to one of the things that you look out for in people that are on the brink of burnout, you talk about gut health. Can you explain about some of the things that might be signs there? Acid
reflux is one of the biggest.
Ooh.
People get reflux a lot. I see it very, very common. And one of my frustrations is that, so the Western medicine side of things, not every practitioner, so this is very generalizing, but a lot of the research is about 10, 15 years behind because of the systems in place to actually get it into the medical, once the research has been done, to then get into something else or something else or something else. It takes about 10 years to get these changes in place. Now, with reflux, we see a lot of doctors prescribing lansoprazole, antacids, and heartburn medication. And that's for high stomach acid. Now, 9 times out of 10, about 90% of the times I've seen people with acid reflux. In fact, probably more than that. I think I've only seen one person where it's been a medical reason that they have high stomach acid. And that was known from the doctors from a different test and some functional medicine testing. Most of the time it's because of low stomach acid, and it's because of stress. We don't signal from the brain to produce enough saliva to signal to the gut to produce stomach acid, betaine HCl, which digests proteins. When we have enough betaine HCl, hydrochloric acid, it then signals to the pancreas to produce pancreatic enzymes to digest carbohydrates. It also signals to the gallbladder, if we're lucky enough to still have one, to produce bile, to digest fats. So a lot of people get bloated because their body isn't able to digest the food. That leads to protein and wasted foods is putrefying in the stomach, which releases gas. We then get inflammation in our esophageal sphincter. So basically there's a doorway in our throat, in our esophagus, to the gut, which doesn't then, if we imagine an old house with a door where the wood's all warped, it's not closing properly. So when we go into certain positions, there's just gas and rubbish that comes up. And it's that horrible feeling. And hence why a lot of people that if they've eaten a lot of crap and stuff like that, again, it will impact their stomach acid, drinking a lot of alcohol and all this sort of stuff. Now, when we then have things like lansoprazole, it's adding fuel to the fire because it's making that low stomach acid even worse. And that then means we don't get the nutrients from the protein. We don't break down the carbohydrates right. We get bloating. One of the things I see a lot of people, especially more in the trends of the diets coming through the early 2000s. So women born in the 70s and 80s doing low fat diets. When they start adding fats in, they get bloated. So then we take the fats out because their gallbladder isn't working as effectively as it could, signaling of stomach acids and everything. Now, we need the fats for hormonal production, right? And to be healthy. So we take the fats out, the symptoms go. So we think we can't eat fat, but it's actually usually linked with stomach acid production. So I think reflux is very, very big when it comes to gut health, because then it leads to problems with our gut microbiome, which is basically like the population within the gut of good and bad bacteria. It leads to, we then get bloated, we get lethargic, it leads to potential intolerances. There's so many things in signaling, and that can then lead to poor blood glucose management and problems with thyroid. So many times thyroid isn't because of the thyroid gland, is actually because of gut health. A lot of the conversion of thyroid is actually from inactive to active is done in the gut. And if we haven't got good gut health, we can see problems with that. And we also know that there's a thing called your vagus nerve, which I done an exercise at the talk where we done a quick vagus reset. And I said, look, if you feel nervous doing this or nauseous doing this, you need to hire me. And I had 2 people speak to me afterwards, like, need to hire you. Like, great, that's good. I was saying it's a joke. But basically, we reset. We have a nerve that connects from our brain to our gut, to our lungs, to our heart, to vital organs all around the body. And that sends signals from our brain downwards and also back up. So if we have bloatedness and things going on, and that signaling gets skewed, like when you're trying to have a conversation with someone and the phone signal's bad, we only get half the message. We can then get anxiety, we can get depression, we can just feel low on energy, and we're not signaling the right hormones or neurotransmitters when it comes to things like dopamine, serotonin. So it literally opens up a whole can of worms when it comes to gut health. And we could be here for like another 2-3 hours talking about it. But if you're bloating, and I would definitely look a little bit deeper, but don't just look at getting probiotics. I look at health from a top-down perspective as what has actually started that. And usually it's with the brain. I would do a little bit of research into the vagus nerve, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube with regard to the vagus nerve. Keep saying I need to record my own one because I keep just putting out someone else's video when clients are like, well, have you got an example of this? Right, I have this video. But there's like a vagus nerve reset, vagus nerve massages. That's something I have a lot of people do.
And how long does it take someone that typically starts working with you for them to start seeing the benefits?
It depends on where their body is at. If they're very, very severe, then the smallest change will have a big impact, and they'll start to notice the difference. And it depends on their overall goals. I look at a thing called heart rate variability, which is how the differentiations between when your heart beats, and it shows stress on the body. The higher it is, the lower stress. The lower it is, the higher stress. And I want people to be at 60 and above all the time. And I see so many people in their 20s and 30s, and you can do it like on Garmin has a body battery, which takes heart rate variability into account. Oura Ring, Whoop bands, Apple Watches, Samsungs, they all have some form of HRV, heart rate variability. And we look on that average for the day before when it comes to things like Apple. Fitbits and Whoops will just take an average of the night's sleep you've had, which is really good. But if it's under 60, you want to get that up very high. Now, the goal would be to get that up by 5 or 10 in the first month, and they will notice a hell of a lot of difference. I've seen people that have had in fact, someone messaged on a forum the other day when someone was talking about sleep, and he said, oh, I heard Ollie and I was sleeping very bad for years. And after 3 weeks, I was sleeping through the night. And now we're working on some other things when it comes to his health. So I've seen people literally just change things. And ironically, overnight, they had the impact because their sleep's improved. But I've also had people that are very, very extreme. So I'm very hesitant to say that everyone sees results in the first week. A lot of people will see improvements, big improvements in the first month. But I have a lady that we worked with in line with her doctors with her epilepsy. And we got her from like 6 medications to 2. And it took about a year to get her down. Got her from daily migraines at like 7, 8, 9 out of 10 pain to being migraine free. But that took about a year of consistency. So it depends on the extremities. But I would say on average, probably in the first month, we're going to see some very big changes to make you want to then implement more changes. And
you mentioned a checklist that you would go through with someone. Is that something that's easy to find, or is it something that people would need to contact you for?
Well, I've got 2. There's a full health screening, which is gut health, brain health, genetics, and a stress management basically test. And they're questionnaires. So they're not medical diagnosis, but like the brain screening will go through questions about blood glucose, questions about gluten, questions about the brain gut axis, the brain immune system axis, all these different things. I think there's about 40 questions. And you answer from 0 to 3 based on the symptoms. And the genetics one will talk about genes. The gut one, again, similar things with the gut. And the sleep one goes through the 3 factors of activity, mindset, and health. And we then get on a call afterwards. Now, we go through what's basically your low-hanging fruit, and then we implement that stuff. At the moment, their full health screening is £99 and the sleep solution is £99. If people signed up afterwards, they get that off their first month's payment. But the goal, as I say, is to get them on a call, to say, it's not a sales call, it's to say, hey, this is the things that I would work on, go away and do it. If you need extra help, I'm here. So that's on my website. But yeah, like we usually see some good results with that. But they're the questionnaires, along with another brain one that people have when they sign up to me for my full coaching anyway.
Awesome. Thank you. So I will get you to leave details of how to contact you below this video if anyone would like to do so.
Any questions of it as well, like comment and tag, because I'm now in the group.
Exactly, yeah. So if anyone has any questions for Ollie, please do write them in the comments below. Rich has just put, my sleep is genuinely rubbish. Don't take my coffee. It's not the getting up, it's the shit that's coming. He doesn't like Mondays, Richard. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions for Ollie, please pop them in the comments and I'm sure he will do his best to answer them. Now he's in my group as well. Thank you, Ollie. That's been very, very insightful and very interesting and a bit enlightening for me as well.
I think this is the thing. Like this is why I went away from just the fitness stuff. And the reason was because my health sucked. I don't see bodybuilding shows. I've been through trauma when my dad passed away. Like all this stuff like takes a toll on our body. I then went into the endurance world trying to do 2 marathons in a month, and just a stupid thing to do because you just want to push your body to the limits. And I think we're not aware of this stuff until we start diving into it. So yeah, and same for you. Any questions you may have, then you know where I am as well.
For sure. Yeah, thank you so much. Richard also says, thank you, very interesting. There's a few more people just joined, so I'm sure lots of people will be watching on catch up because lots of people did want to hear what you were going to say, and I will tag a few people that need to hear what you've got to say as well.
Also, just the talk that I've done, if people want to hear the actual talk that I've done, it's on my podcast.
Okay, brilliant.
It's not the greatest audio quality because it was my phone recorded on the desk as I was on it, but you can hear everything that's on there. But if anyone wants the actual slides to it, just say that you're in Lucy's group and I'll happily share the slides to that talk. But it's on my podcast, OJ Health Radio. So OJAY Health Radio.
There you go, guys. OJAY.radio, did you say?
Just OJ Health Radio.
OJ Health Radio.
You'll be coming on to talk about the stuff that you do.
I am, aren't I? Yeah, quite soon. Cool. All right. Thank you so much indeed. I'm sure we'll get more questions as this stays up on my page for a little bit longer. Thank you very much, Ollie. I really appreciate it. And I will see you sometime very soon. All right. Take care.